Hey boys, it's HarmNone. With the addition of the new police variants of pre-existing vehicles with the latest Agents of Sabotage DLC into GTA Online, I figured it was probably a good time to rank every single police car in Grand Theft Auto Online yet again. I've reflected on my last list as well as included the new vehicles into this one for an ultimate ranking of every police car in GTA Online. Before we get into the video, something that you must know is that this list is 100% factual and cannot be argued with. If you disagree, you are simply wrong. With that being said, leave a like if you enjoy the video, if not dislike of course, and consider subscribing if you're new. Let's get started with the worst police car in GTA Online. Things have switched around since the last time, and we have the Vapid Unmarked Cruiser as the worst police car in GTA Online thus far. This vehicle goes for $2,962,500 to $3,950,000 if you don't have the trade price. Now, the reason that I've ranked this police car so low is because it's an unmarked variant of a marked variant, which in my opinion is a little bit boring. Now, undercover police cars are quite commonplace in real life, so it does make sense to have one or a few in the game. But I do just feel like this thing is pretty boring, and given the price tag that it's going to cost you, for just a little bit more money, you could get a lot more bang for your buck in terms of a police car, in my opinion at least. The Unmarked Cruiser is cool, but it's just simply kind of boring comparatively to all the other police cars that we've had added into the game. So I do think that this one deserves last place. Plus, it's also the slowest out of all the cruiser police cars by far, so I feel like it's just really not that good, and it's only really made to go on-road, whereas some of the other vehicles that might be a little bit slower are at least made to go off-road or on-road, which does give them an added element of versatility. So for those reasons, the Unmarked Cruiser is the worst police car in GTA Online. Next up, we have the Vapid Stainier LE Cruiser for $3,517,500 if you got the trade price, and if you don't, it's going to be $4,690,000, which is an insane amount of money. This is the marked version of the Unmarked Cruiser, but the Stainier LE variant of it does go significantly faster, albeit at about a $600,000 upcharge. Granted, it is significantly faster. It probably has a 5 to 10 mile per hour higher top speed, as well as similar handling and everything like that, but the Stainier LE Cruiser actually gets some degree of customization with the bull bar on the front of it, the tech array, the searchlights, and the light bar on the roof. Plus, it also gets the addition of livery options, which is pretty cool, and are found on most of the other police cars that we're going to go over on this list. At number 11, we got the Bravado Greenwood Cruiser for $3,682,500 to $4,910,000. Now, this thing has moved down a little bit since the last time I ranked it because I just feel like it's not actually that good of a car. It does have pretty good handling, and it is based off of the Bravado Greenwood platform, which is a pretty solid one. The regular Bravado Greenwood is the cheapest Amani Tech capable vehicle in GTA Online, and honestly, I do like how it drives. And the Greenwood Cruiser, I like how it drives too. It has pretty good handling, got pretty good acceleration. It's got a nice wide stance, so you're not very likely to tip over in this thing. And it does get livery options as well as lights, push bars, and searchlights. So that is pretty cool, but unfortunately the Greenwood Cruiser just is not that fast, so I couldn't really rank it any higher than this realistically. At number 10, we got the Declassy Granger Park Ranger. Bars. This thing's going to run you $2,235,000 if you got the trade price, or $2,980,000, which is the exact same price as the Ocelot Virtue, and you're getting a vehicle that is effectively much worse. Plus, this thing is only available on next gen or current gen, so the Xbox Series S and X or PlayStation 5 version of GTA Online, which is pretty unfortunate, though I do think that we will be getting this on the PC platform pretty soon, probably when HSW releases as well. But I'm not 100% sure on this, of course. The Declassy Granger Park Ranger, though, is actually pretty useless, not gonna lie. There's basically nothing that you can do to this thing other than just color it and upgrade it performance wise, but it does have a little bit more versatility than the Greenwood Cruiser in my opinion, because it is all-wheel drive and of course you can take it off-road. The lights and sirens look really good on this thing, and it also looks good in any other color other than the normal white, in which you see it in the canyon area. The Granger Park Ranger is pretty bad generally, but it's not quite as bad as the Bravado Greenwood Cruiser in all honesty, so for that reason I've got it at number 10. At number 9 we got the Bravado Dorado Cruiser for $3,753,750 if you have the trade price, and if you don't it's going to be $5,005,000. This was our first introduction into off-road sort of capable police variants of other vehicles in GTA Online. The Dorado did a pretty good job of it. I will say this thing is probably my favorite police car to go off-road with. Granted, it's not the best one by any means. It does have pretty good ground clearance and it does have some nice customization similar to the regular Dorado, but with the addition of the light bar on the top, the bull bar on the front, the searchlights. The Dorado Cruiser is pretty cool, but it's just not the best, and with the addition of newer and much better performing off-road capable police cars, it has moved down a few slots unfortunately. At number 8 we got the Declasse Impaler LX Cruiser for $3,600,000 to $4,800,000 if you don't have the trade price. The Impaler LX Cruiser is actually a pretty good car in GTA Online. Now this is coming from somebody who absolutely hates the Declasse Impalers. I don't really find them to be that awesome of cars, but the cruiser variant of it is pretty good, at least comparatively to some of the other cars that we've talked about already, with pretty decent handling and some nice customization as well. The Impaler LX Cruiser is definitely a good car to have if you're doing some sort of like 80s sort of police roleplay in GTA Online. I do think it would be pretty good for that sort of stuff. Generally, it's still not the best police car in GTA, that's for sure, but it does serve a purpose for those of you that are interested. Next up at number 7, we have our first new vehicle on the list with the Canis Terminus Patrol for $3,843,750 if you have the trade price, and if you don't, $5,125,000. Now something cool with this vehicle that I'm going to start off with is the fact that this thing has a missile lock-on jammer that is available for it through the Amani Tech Vehicle Workshop that is found within the agency. This is pretty cool. It also does have armor plating that can be applied to it. Unfortunately though, it does not have any sort of actual effect like the real armor plating does on the regular Canis Terminus. It is just purely for looks, so that does kind of suck. The Terminus Patrol is pretty awesome. It's pretty good off-road. It's better than the Dorado Cruiser, but it does have its flaws because of the bull bar on the front. I think this thing really does not like off-road performance too much. It does seem to bounce around quite a lot, and like the Terminus, this thing does not have a suspension option, which is kind of annoying because the suspension on this thing is super bouncy, and if you're doing some sort of an off-road pursuit, the Terminus Patrol is going to struggle quite a lot. It does not really like to stay on its wheels, and for that reason I had to rank it at number 7 because it is just simply not as good as the Vapid Caracara Pursuit, for example, which is kind of a much more capable off-roader in all honesty. Another annoying thing about the Terminus Patrol is that they still haven't fixed the rear end of it there with the windows. Those windows still do not ever get tint applied to them, which is super frustrating, and I really don't like that. I don't even know that they actually have windows on that back part of the roof there either, which is super annoying, but nonetheless, the Terminus Patrol is a pretty good off-roader. It's just not the best. Next up, we got the Vapid Caracara Pursuit for $4,001,250 to $5,335,000 if you don't have the trade price. Similar to the Terminus Patrol, this thing also has the missile lock-on jammer, which is very cool, but no armor plating that doesn't work, so that's kind of a benefit, I guess. The Caracara Pursuit is a better off-roader than the Terminus Patrol, and I was a bit skeptical of this actually until I drove the Terminus because I was relatively unimpressed with the Caracara Pursuit off-road as well. But having driven them both now off-road at length, I do really think that the Caracara Pursuit is quite a ways ahead of the Terminus Patrol when it comes to off-road ability, because it doesn't have the bouncy suspension that the Terminus does, which is a huge benefit in all honesty. The Caracara Pursuit also gets access to the light bar options, the bull bar options, as well as the searchlights and everything like that. Plus it also gets a lot of the Caracara regulars customization options, which is pretty nice to see. Overall, the Carrera Pursuit is by far the best off-road style police vehicle in GTA Online, and I definitely do recommend it if you do want to do some off-road police work. But for the vast majority of you, if you're not going to be doing that sort of stuff, I would just avoid buying any of the off-road style police variants of the cars in GTA Online. I just don't think it's worth it for most of you. If you do want to go off-road though, the Carrera Pursuit is going to be your one to pick up. At number 5, we got the Declasse Impaler SZ Cruiser for $3,540,000 to $4,720,000. This thing is cheaper than all of the other cruisers that we've gone over on the list thus far that came out with the same update. So the Greenwood Cruiser and the Impaler LX Cruiser are both more expensive than this thing, despite that the Impaler SZ Cruiser actually has significantly better performance than the other two, which is something to definitely keep in mind. The Impaler SC Cruiser still has the weak-ass customization of the regular Impaler SZ, but in a police uniform. For the record, I still do absolutely hate the Impaler SZ. I think it's a terrible looking vehicle, and the police variant doesn't really do it any justice, but I cannot deny that this thing is a much better vehicle than the Impaler LX and the Bravado Greenwood Cruiser, which I do genuinely like much more than the SC. But this thing just is so much faster, and it's also cheaper. You can't really deny that it is the better car out of them all, even though I really do hate it. At number 4, we have the brand new Willard Outreach Faction for $3,112,500 to $4,150,000. This thing, like the Terminus and the Carrera Pursuit, has the missile lock-on jammer available in the Amani Tech Vehicle Workshop in the agency, which is pretty cool. It's also significantly cheaper than any of the other vehicles we've gone over on this list so far, except for the Vapid Unmarked Cruiser. However, the Willard Outreach Faction does have significantly better performance than all of the other vehicles we've talked about so far. This thing is actually pretty fast, it feels pretty good, and it really should have been called the Interceptor in my opinion, because it is pretty quick and has good handling as well. I would put the performance of this thing very similarly to the Dominator FX Interceptor. It is very close. It has good handling, pretty good acceleration, and a decent top speed. The only thing that I really find annoying about the Outreach Faction is that it doesn't have a spoiler option, so you can't really make it handle any better than it does. Granted, it does handle pretty well off the bat, so that is important. As I've driven this thing more, it has grown on me quite a bit, and I do actually think it is one of the very best police cars in GTA Online. At number 3, we got the Vapid Dominator FX Interceptor for $3,712,500 to $4,950,000. The Dominator FX Interceptor is a pretty decent car, but definitely not the best, and it does leave something to be desired in my opinion at least. I don't think this thing is as fast as it should have been, I don't think it has as good of handling as it should have had, and I just generally feel like it is a little bit disappointing, especially at its price point, which is very, very high. This is one of the most expensive police cars in the game, and I just don't really feel like it is deserving of that. It is a little bit better than the Willard Outreach Faction, but only slightly, and honestly, I can't really even justify the $800,000 price difference for the non-trade price, or the $600,000 price difference for the trade price between the Willard Outreach Faction and the Dominator FX Interceptor. Just based off performance, I don't think you're getting that much money worth of performance with the Dominator FX Interceptor, but it is kind of the better car at the end of the day, so I had to rank it ahead of it. But realistically, the Willard Outreach Faction could have taken number 3 just based on how cheap it is and what you're getting for buying it. The Dominator FX Interceptor though is an interesting car, but I don't really recommend buying it despite the 3rd place placement here, because it's just simply not nearly as good as the top 2 vehicles. And of course at number 2 we got the Bravado Gauntlet Interceptor for $4,065,000 to $5,420,000, formerly the most expensive police car in GTA Online, and definitely the best performing up until the vehicle, which is at number 1, released. This thing had the best top speed for all the police cars, it had the best acceleration, and some of the best handling, in conjunction with how good it was in a straight line as well. The Gauntlet Interceptor had quite a bit of customization, and it was pretty obviously based off of the Bravado Gauntlet Hellfire, albeit a significantly powered down version of that car, but also a much better handling version of that car as well. The Gauntlet Interceptor is actually a really good car, and I would recommend buying it, but you definitely need to consider the vehicle, which is at number 1, before you consider buying this thing, because you are going to get a little bit more bang for your buck with the vehicle at number 1, which is of course the Invitero Cockhead D10 Pursuit, which was just released into GTA Online. It's going to cost you $4,125,000 to $5,620,000. This thing also gets access to the lock-on jammer, which is pretty cool and is a huge added bonus. The Invitero Cockhead D10 Pursuit and the Bravado Gauntlet Interceptor have pretty similar performance. I would give the edge to the Cockhead D10 Pursuit in terms of handling. I do think it is slightly better, and acceleration as well as launch off the line. The D10 Pursuit is definitely better than the Gauntlet Interceptor. As far as top speed goes though, I think it's pretty much a toss-up. The Bravado Gauntlet Interceptor is pretty quick in a straight line, but so is the Cockhead D10 Pursuit. I would say for the extra 200 grand, the Invitero Cockhead D10 Pursuit is the slightly better car due to the lock-on jammer as well as the better launch acceleration and handling. So for that reason, I have ranked it as the number 1 best police vehicle in GTA Online as it stands currently after the release of the Agents of Sabotage DLC. Now this ranking very well may change whenever we get another update into GTA and maybe get some more police vehicles added into the game. So there you have it guys, that has been it for ranking every police car in GTA Online. Let me know what you thought on my list in the comment section down below. Comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video, leave a like if you enjoyed it, dislike if you didn't, and of course consider subscribing if you are new. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.